goddesses. Hello, women who are moving into the spirit and season of the huntress arising. Hi, I am Tonya Taria, founder of Freedom at the Crossroads and the Undomesticated Woman series. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If this is your first time tuning in, don't forget to subscribe and hit your notification button so that you are aware of when the next hot episode drops. You will be one of the first to get that little ding, 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 letting you know it's time to tune in and come on back to the table. Grab a latte, a cup of tea, and a snack, girls, and let's talk about women, our issues, and getting off of the altar of OPE, otherwise known as the altar of other people's expectations. On a more serious note, I know I've talked about it before. You can catch a number of discussions on this on some of my earlier podcast episodes where I talk about what constitutes an undomesticated woman? What does it mean to be, basically a slave on the altar of OPE? And how that ties into the whole fabric of self-care and what that means. Because in a lot of instances, as big as I want to say and others want to claim that the self-care movement is, the reality of it is that a lot of people, and particularly women, have some misconceptions about what is self-care. And, a lot of them, because of their disconnect with self and a true understanding of what self-care is, they associate that with being selfish or high maintenance, or, taking time away from family and things of that nature, or even isolationist. And the reality of it is, self-care is truly what it is. Separate those two words, self, and then care. And that's what it is. It's breaking the silence around voicing your own needs and wants, desires, and what, really needs to happen in terms of you being nurtured and fulfilled and truly healthy in mind, body, spirit, emotionally, in all aspects of you. And you can't be healthy. You can't have a good mindset. You can't have a healthy mindset. You can't have a healthy and secure perspective of yourself if you always put yourself at the bottom of the list, if you always downgrade your own needs, if you always devalue your own needs, and by extension, you're devaluing yourself. And in a lot of instances, we think that, if we put our own self-care or, down the chain, down the line sometime, where you say, I have to take care of this. I promise this person I would do this. I promise the church or this or that I would help. I would pitch in here. I can sleep later, or I'll catch up on my sleep later, or I'll catch up on eating healthy, or I'll get back into my exercise routine, next week or next month or whatever next time you fantasize about carving out for yourself when it relates to self-care. And ultimately, it speaks to the issue of, like I've said before, boundaries. And it's not just setting boundaries with other people and things on the external. It's setting boundaries with yourself. It has to do with the agreements you make with yourself and with others. And when I speak of agreements, there's something so powerful and spiritual about the concept of agreements. And I want to reference Don Miguel Ruiz, his book, The Four Agreements. It's a very powerful and insightful book. And I will admit, when I first started reading that book, I thought it was very woo-woo, very out there. And then, I just had to shake off my own preconceptions and the resistance I was feeling, because it made me aware of some resistance I really had about being honest with myself in terms of saying, yeah, I did make an agreement. I did accept what this person was telling me about myself. And it has to do with the stories you tell yourself and people tell you about yourself. And you agreeing to accept that, that's an agreement, or you choosing to reject that, that's also an agreement. And so it's important that we recognize and really dig into self and say, okay, this is my current situation. I am not happy here. I want to get off of that hamster wheel going nowhere. I want to get out of feeling a deep sense of shame and guilt because I have needs require. And when you are honest with yourself, and that has to do with awareness. And the beginning of any epic journey in life, any true transformation, is awareness. And if you're a hamster on that wheel, going nowhere, you just keep plodding ahead. You still have that dissatisfaction. You're still stressed and not feeling, fulfilled, and just accepting your lot in life, the status quo. And before you know it, your life is gone and there's nothing to show for it. And again, I reference another book by Buchi Emechita called The Joys of Motherhood. It's a book by a Nigerian feminist author. And she really highlights that sense of hopelessness, of drudgery, of what society constitutes, and in a traditional sense. And this is set back in around the time of the Biafran wars in Nigeria and things of that nature. And it was a very chaotic time in Nigerian history. I won't go into all the details, but it was a very chaotic time where, where West meets traditional African Igbo culture. And in a lot of instances, we still struggle with that in parts of West Africa, and other traditional cultures too struggle with finding points of agreement with Western European culture versus traditional African culture, wherever that might be, whether it's West Africa, whether it's Central Africa, whether it's South Africa, North Africa, East Africa. I think what a lot of Westerners still do not understand is how diverse Africa is regionally. Africa is not this one cohesive place where everybody speaks the same language and everybody looks the same. It's a multitude of complex cultures. Some have been historical enemies for generations, for centuries even. But, that aside, when it comes to the issue of self-care, women struggle with the conditioning that's come about from culture and society and media, and that has been used as a mechanism to control women for centuries, for generations. And that's true in the West, as it is in Africa, as it is in the Middle East, as it is in Asia, Southeast Asia, wherever there are patriarchal structures and misogynistic tendencies across cultures and things of that nature, there is that issue of dominion and dominance and subjugation of various portions of the population, whether you're rich, poor. A lot of it, in a lot of instances, it's gender discrimination in terms of who holds the power and who has control over other individuals. And so when it comes to self-care, this is an important thing we all need to tune into. But you can't make those connections. You cannot break free. You cannot become aware if there's not something in you that says there's more. If there's not, rather, I think what I need to say here is not something in you. It's more the case of you having a realization that this is not the life you want, that there's something more for you to do, that the universe, that God, the creator, that there is something more that you were called to be on this earth. And that is true of all of us. It's just that some of us make the agreement to accept the status quo, that some of us make the agreement to accept our lot in life rather than do the difficult work associated with personal development and activation and awakening and awareness and ultimately growth that you need in order to move to the next level, to achieve the potential and truly exercise and manifest the potential that you have within you as an individual in terms of the gifts you bring to this earth, to make it a better place, to serve others truly, and to be fulfilled and happy and whole as an individual. So this is Tony from Freedom at the Crossroads, helping women everywhere look better, feel better without the pressure. Sisters, tune in for the next episode of the Undomesticated Woman podcast series here at Freedom at the Crossroads. You can catch me on iTunes, Spotify, and now iHeartRadio at Freedom at the Crossroads. You can also find me on Spreaker as well, or better yet, tune in and join the community at freedomatthecrossroads.com, where women everywhere look better, feel better without the pressure of OPE. Till next time, ladies.